This programme is brought to you by Vinny.co.uk.
Welcome back to the Champions League pool here on Free Sports. One match remaining tonight in group number 6, and Dave McNamara has the chance to qualify for the quarter-finals. Up against him is Tony Blount, who's certainly not going to be a pushover, Simon, but Dave has earned this opportunity. It's in his own hands. He's had an extraordinary moment. He's had a couple of them, actually. It's now up to him.
It is, and that's all you can ask for, really, as a player, is to make sure that you've got qualification in your own hands, and all he has to do is get a point. And whilst Tony has played some good pool tonight and put up a really good fight, we have to remember he is a qualifier, and he started tonight as a 20-1 outsider with the bookies to come through. So you think the odds are in David McNamara's favour, but we have seen in this competition and this format of the game that it can be so volatile. It is only a race to 4. It is only a 20-minute match. Tony is more than capable of getting something out of this, or winning it and upsetting it and taking us to a 6-red shootout.
It's all set then for our final match of the night. And we talked about this a little bit earlier on, but Tony Blount here has got a point to prove, and I would imagine he's not going to be... We've seen events, haven't we, where we've got to this match of the night where we've got the player who's already out against the player who needs to win to win the group. And it's been a little bit tough for the player that's already gone to get his spirit up again, to get his morale up, and not be that walkover match that it has the potential to be. I don't think that'll be the case with Tony. We spoke to him earlier on. He's really enjoyed his time here. He's looked at this group and this event as a real free hit for himself to get involved with it, the biggest event he's ever played in, live on telly. He's given a great account of himself, for my money, in the first couple of matches here tonight. Not quite got the run of the ball to maybe, and he could easily have got a win in both those games, especially the second. If he can get himself a victory here and give himself a little bit of notoriety as the man who spoiled the party, well, who's to say that he can't?
Yeah, and he'll be trying hard. He really will be. He'll be wanting to do himself proud. Okay, he knows he can't go through, but as you say, this is the biggest stage he's played on, and he just wants to get out there and showcase what he can do. And he may not be able to go through tonight, but a win will be a massive achievement for him, and something he's going to really be trying very hard to do. And what a chance he has here in the opening frame.
I was just thinking that, actually. It's probably the best lie of balls he's had to come to the table to. Maybe of the evening. He had a really good setup, didn't he, to go and win the game against Carl Sutton, and that was the one that I think will stick in his craw a touch, because that was really there for him to go and win the game. I think the nerves might just have got the better of him on that occasion. He played a couple of shots where he put an extra 5% on the white ball, and it made things difficult for him. The adrenaline was flowing. But I think even more so in this game, the pressure's off for Tony Blount, and he can really play with a bit of freedom. We hope to see that.
Yeah, and also I think that playing Dave McNamara isn't something that's going to worry him either, because I think he's pretty comfortable playing David, because he's played him before. They know each other pretty well. He's just potted himself into a really awkward position here. He was in perfect position 3 or 4 shots ago with it wide open, and now he's just awkward on his last couple of balls. Difficult to get from this one to the next one. Needs a good kiss here. Oh, he'll take that. Excellent little kiss, excellent shot. The other thing with this opening frame is I hope that Craig Lakin wasn't watching that break from David McNamara. For the second time tonight, he's gone for the cut break, looking for another golden break to go back to back, and the 8 ball didn't move anywhere. It stayed right in the middle of the table.
Well, not to be there for Tony Blount. This was a tricky shot. I think he knew straight away he wasn't far off making it either, was he?
There was a little bit more angle on that shot than I thought. When he first landed, I thought that was just going to be a drop in easy for the 8-ball, but it was a bit trickier than I thought.
It's a good safety there. Yeah. Dave McNamara. It's a percentage shot. We talked about that before. It always seems to be Tony's the one who's got snooker tonight, but it is a bit of a risk because if Tony can make a hit here, he's got half a chance. It's a horrible bit of cueing though.
Yeah, slid right off the side of the cue, that one. Complete miscue.
Time running.
Important shot that David McNamara just played there, an important visit to the table right now, because whilst all of the odds are in his favour, everything's looking good for him, he still has to forget about what's happened, come down from that golden break and that amazing turnaround victory, and remember he's got work to do here. He's still got to get that point.
Yeah, it's been a professional approach to this frame because it's not been easy for him.
Foul.
Just couldn't really figure out a way that Tony Blount could hit that red.
Ball in hand, anywhere on the table. Time
David
running.
gets the ball in hand, so he'll probably leave himself on his trickiest ball, which is this one on the far right hand side. That's one of the big advantages of having cue ball in hand anywhere on the table. Rather than having a free shot to open things up, you just put the cue ball in a perfect position, and now they are wide open for him. Very professional really from David. He could have easily, after that first foul, gone for it. Could have left an angle to develop the ball on the cushion and gone for the finish, but he's used his shot, used his head, played another good snooker whilst developing a bad ball, knowing that next opportunity he'd have the chance to clear up, and that's exactly what has happened.
Yeah, it was a super professional frame that from Dave McNamara. I've seen him being quite cavalier so far tonight. He is such an aggressive, confident player, and he's never afraid to back his ability to pot his way into success, really. But that was a patient, well-constructed frame from Dave to go and win. Really just took it away from Tony. He couldn't really do an awful lot about it, having missed that first chance. But you can see there, I think he's had a couple of moments, Tony, which he'd love back. And one of them was that frame because it was in his hands.
Yeah, 2 or 3 positional shots tonight and a couple of missed pots have been the difference between winning and losing a couple of frames, and that's the difference between winning and losing matches. And that's exactly what happened in that frame. He'll feel like he should have won it. One loose positional shot, and that's cost him the frame. And I think once you go behind against someone like David McNamara, now the comfort level will just drop a little bit, and it's going to be harder for Tony to get back into the match.
It certainly will. Reminder of what's come before in the Champions League. We've seen Josh Kane, Aaron Davies, Phil Harrison and Neil Raybone qualify through from the opening 4 groups of the tournament. They've got through some really good players to get through that as well. Really impressive performance in particular from Sean Storey last week to get through a really, really tough, even group. Chris Day, Tom Price and Eddie Barker. That was the sort of group that you saw heading into the night and you just could not pick a winner. And we've still got a box office lineup in the next couple of weeks. Looks like we're going to have Dave McNamara through to the quarterfinals, barring a quite miraculous recovery, not just from Tony Blount, but then a shootout win for Carl Sutton. But following on from tonight's action, Chris Melling's in action next week, former world champion. One of the greatest to ever do it, really, in this sport, against a few players who would love to take that scalp heading into the later stages of this tournament. And then our final week of group stages on the 8th of February, a couple of weeks' time. 6-time world champion Mick Hill is in action in something of a group of death. So still so much to play for in this competition. We've loved it so far. And following on from these 2 weeks, we've then got the quarterfinals and finals night, so it's just going to get better, which is what we absolutely love to see.
Yeah, this is just the beginning. It really is starting to really build up, isn't it? This competition. We've seen some brilliant stuff so far. There's another little missed pot from Tony, as it looked like another clearance. It looked like he was going to make another clearance, and that missed pot is those little differences have been, you know, that missed pot or a missed positional shot, that's been the difference for him tonight.
Yeah, and it's tough if you're Tony at this stage. He said he's at the start of the match, he'll be desperate to really do his best with this match. He'd love to get a win. He'd love to get a point. He'd love just to play really well, I think. And I think he has done so far. But he'll know within himself. He said it to us earlier that he can do better. He wants to do better. He isn't here just to make up the numbers. He said so himself. He is, in a sense, you know, he sees it as a great opportunity, as a bit of a free hit against some established players, but he wants to be able to compete against them as any competitive player does. And it's tough when it's becoming even more difficult out there for him.
He'll also learn from it as well. You don't play against players like this and play in this environment, play on TV for the first time without learning a lot from it. So it's when he goes back to play in tournaments, when they're back up and running, and gets back to playing county pool, and he'll certainly have learned a lot from this experience.
And this for 2-0. Never in doubt, was it? And Dave McNamara goes 2 frames away from a place in the quarterfinals. Reminder, he doesn't even need to win this match in theory. Could get through with just a draw.
Looks pretty calm and content with his work so far, though, doesn't he? Come down from that previous match quite quickly, and looks very good.
This is the record of Dave McNamara, former under-23 world and national champion back in 2016, and continues to make that forward progress in his relatively young career. Only 26 years of age, which is no age really in the pool world. And a good chance in this tournament, you feel, for him to really make a name for himself, because we've seen it in tournaments that he's participated in on free sports in particular. So
leading 2 frames.
You can see he's got the potential, and when he's on a run and he's playing with confidence, he's a real bully around the table, and you can see he's making constant improvements.
He's getting closer and closer to winning something really big, and it could well be one of these events on free sports. It could be this event where he's playing. Last time we saw him on free sports, he played in the Super Series. Just after the first lockdown, he made it through to the quarterfinals, and it took a brilliant performance from Mark Farnsworth to knock him out. That was in set play, and actually it was all square in the number of frames played. I think it was 14 frames all in the match. It just shows you the company he's keeping when he plays well. He also made the
yellows in play.
Semi-finals of the shootout grand final, losing out in a deciding frame to Simon Fitzsimmons, who went on to win the title in a dramatic fashion. But David McNamara actually had an 8-ball into the centre pocket to beat him, and
oh, what a shot that is.
It just stayed on the table. Still had one problem ball at the top end of the table, and the 2 at the bottom aren't as bad.
Tell you what, he's going for it though, isn't he?
I think there's a comfort level to now being 2-0 ahead. May not have taken this on at 0-0.
He's kicking these balls around the table like a platypus's tail. It's been an extravaganza for Dave McNamara. And in the end, he has to turn the table over. Tony Blount, maybe with a chance here. I tell you what, that's a great opening shot. That's a really good opening shot. That'll settle the nerves a little bit.
Yeah, and all the reds are now open. That was brilliant, wasn't it, to get in? But the reds are open. It's just that 8-ball. Doesn't have a pocket. He's coming around to have a look now just to see whether can he play for the gap at the bottom. it's a very small gap if he does try and play for that gap. If he leaves plenty of angle on the last ball, he could play into it, but there'd be no guarantees the angle he'd be coming at towards the 8 ball of being able to develop it. So he may well play for this gap now. Margin of error very small. He's tried to move it, and he has moved it.
He's got a shot here. I think it's tough to tell from this angle. Can he squeeze a double out of this? Oh, we're about to find out. Looks like he can. Not quite. It might not have even had the legs. I think with an extra couple of inches on it, I think it had drifted in off the knuckle.
If he plays this with a hair more pace, it just holds it line a fraction more as well. If you play the double with just a bit more pace, it holds a straighter line on it. So that was close. It now opened up the table for David McNamara. Maybe just off straight the wrong way, may not be able to get that close to his last ball. See the frustration on his face. He knows he didn't quite get that one right. Tried to force it on and off the bottom cushion and get right behind this yellow. Now this is a trickier pot than he wanted.
Should say as well, it's really worth pointing out here, these pockets looking like buckets to him, aren't they, at this stage? But particularly worth mentioning, I know we mentioned it earlier, worth revisiting, that Dave McNamara is recently off the back of shoulder surgery. He really isn't 100% comfortable. You can see that when he's walking around the arena, when he breaks, when he plays a shot with a bit of power or a bit more screw than he'd potentially prefer. He's uncomfortable out there, and to be able to produce this sort of pull when you are suffering a bit is a real testament to how good a player he is and the character of the man as well.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with how he's played tonight. I really am. It's with shoulder surgery, with his shoulder surgery, easy for me to say. I wasn't expecting him to play anywhere near his best. I thought he might struggle tonight because of it, but he has played some great pool and deserves to be where he is.
Yeah, he certainly does. And you can see there the achievements that he has to his name. He would love to remove those under 23s from next to those titles, and who's to say that he won't in time.
He's certainly heading in the right direction. I think there's some big titles coming for him, as we've already talked about some of the finals and semi-finals and quarter-finals he's managed to get to.
Frame number 4, Tony Blount to break, trailing 3 frames to 0. Time running.
And he's 8 minutes away from making a quarter-final of this event. Oh, Tony has probably the worst break he's hit tonight. He's hit every break really well tonight. He's not always made a ball, but he's always hit the break well. This time, it's just not come out well at all.
Anywhere behind the line, 1 visit.
Yeah, he has been actually very unlucky on the break. We talked about this a little bit earlier, and even mentioned it to him in an interview that he was actually hitting the breaks brilliantly, but they just weren't coming out nice, wasn't getting the balls to drop. Was getting amazing splits, which was making things easier for his opponent. But Davis handed the table back over. Hasn't really left much of a chance, not yet at least.
Open table.
The referee's called open table.
Carry on. Apologies.
As in, it would be David McNamara's turn. But actually, he did flick off the yellow when he potted the yellow in the corner.
I'm looking at the same image.
I think the referee thought for a second that he'd played red onto yellow, which wasn't the case.
Again, you can see the ability that Tony has. If you're just joining us tonight on the off chance, you haven't been watching us from the start, Tony was a qualifier into this event, a county level player, playing up against 3 established pro players who who are at home in any televised tournament, really. This is Tony's first time on the box. That might sneak in. Oh, he's unlucky. Tony's first time on the box. Biggest tournament he's been a part of. And the first two matches in particular, I thought he played really well. Was half an inch off getting a win in his second match as well, against the man who's ended up coming second. And he's frustrated, and I know you've been almost sat in that chair yourself, Simon, one or two times in your career, when you just feel like you haven't done yourself justice, and that's a hard emotion to try and deal with as well.
Yeah, I think that's worse than the feeling of losing, actually, in a weird way, when you know that you feel like you could do better out there. But it's not easy, and I think that's one of the things he talked about when we interviewed him earlier on, is the fact that, you know, it's hard out there. You know, it's a tough environment to play well. The format's tough. The short shot clock's tough. Playing on TV for the first time's tough. You know, and he shouldn't, when he looks back at this, and I'm sure he will, he should be proud of the fact that he's out there playing, rather than, you know, picking out the handful of mistakes that he's made. You don't have to do a lot wrong against these guys to lose, so don't be too hard on yourself.
Yeah, there's no, you know, sort of skill-based matchmaking when it comes into this tournament. It's all open draw. There's no seedings whatsoever. We've seen that final group of the tournament in particular. No one's got any protection. You know, the six-time world champ is in an absolutely horrible group that he, depending on how they're feeling on the night, he might not even be favourite to get out of after a couple of games.
Yeah, completely open draw. Just the way it comes out. That was another missed pot for Tony. I think he was just trying to pinch the pocket, because if he pots that centre pocket, he probably snookers himself on his last yellow. Well,
when your luck's in, Dave McNamara, your luck is in. Jaws the double, and it goes straight back across the table into the other middle pocket. He's had a couple of moments, Dave McNamara. We talked about Tony not getting the run of the balls. There's little doubt that Dave has.
He's had some form tonight, but that is a brilliant treble. That really is. Yeah, he's had the rub at the right times, hasn't he? Big difference in that match against Craig Lakin. But sometimes you have to play great pool to get the rub.
This to secure his place.
They've conceded.
Oh, well, Tony Blount has decided enough is enough. Dave McNamara doesn't even need the final 8 ball. Tony concedes, and Dave McNamara leaves his final match of the night with a 4-0 victory and secures his place in the quarterfinals of the Vinny.co.uk Champions League pool. What a lineup that is shaping up to be. What a performance from Dave McNamara tonight, Simon.
Yeah, absolutely. And this, you know, the stats on this performance were probably his weakest of the night, really. Once he'd got himself 2-0 in front, it was almost job done for him. He kind of knew that he could coast it in from there, because all he needed was a point. But over the whole night, yeah, he's definitely deserves to go through. But that second match against Craig Lakin, that was the big talking point. That was the big moment. But he has come through that with a golden break, and he goes through.
On a night that has hinged on such tiny little moments. I'm sure Dave will remember that one very, very fondly indeed. We'll hear from our newest quarter-finalist when we come back. Don't go anywhere.
This programme is brought to you by Vinny.co.uk.
Well, welcome back to the Champions League pool here on Free Sports. Another fantastic night of action. Group 6 has ended, and we have a new quarter-finalist. That quarter-finalist is Dave McNamara. 3 wins out of 3 for Deej, who was really impressive tonight, and with some pretty special moments along the way as well. I'm delighted to say he joins us now. Dave, first of all, a huge congratulations. We spoke to you a little bit earlier, immediately after the golden break. You were high as a kite. Did you have to bring yourself down for that final match, because you had to do a professional job in the end?
Yeah, I mean, I still had a game to play, and you know, everyone was talking about the 6 red shootout, hence what the fans want, but it's definitely not what I wanted at all, especially against like Lakin or Carl, who are naturally quick players anyway. So No, I had to come down from Cloud 9 after the golden break. You know, I went to the toilet, composed myself, came back, and to be honest, I thought I'd done a good job on Tony. I thought I played well in the end.
A couple of nice shots in there as well. I know you're pretty proud of that treble that went in the final frame as well.
Yeah. I mean, I like a good double, and it was double kiss. I never played it in the middle, so you know, played it. I mean, the shot clock sort of helped me there because I thought I've just got to play it. There was not, the other red didn't go, so. Yeah, I'm just happy I played well. You know, I've had a tough time recently with my shoulders and other things. So you know, to come here, get your mind off things, it was really nice to come here and play.
Yeah, we mentioned your shoulder injury a little bit on commentary. I know it's something you're still struggling with. We can see it out there. How nice is it just to be able to produce such a level despite that? That you know, you're quarterfinalist in this event. Yeah. You're still doing all right.
Yeah, no, I mean, I tell everyone like I'm queuing really well. Ball's there to be part. I should get it, but you know, it's the little stuff like when you're bridging or when you're breaking. I really struggle to do that. So, I mean, I've bridged a couple of times tonight and nailed it. So, bit of a hit and hope maybe, but you know, I'm just happy I played well. You know, and it was nice competing again. It's been a long time since I played some competitive pool, and you know, to make your first sort of comeback game on telly against 3 class players and then win the group. You know, I made up.
And it won't be as long until you play your next competitive pool, of course. You're into the quarterfinals. It's some lineup. How excited are you to be a part of that? Because wherever you end up getting drawn into the quarterfinal group, you've got some fantastic players to play.
Yeah, I know. I mean, when I seen the lineup for it all, really, there was some unreal players in it. So, you know, to play on TV against these players is one thing, but you know, to be in the hat in the last 8, you know, that's something bigger. A few shout outs though for Jays for letting me practice down in Oxford. Got a few weeks down there, and without that, and I wouldn't have got close tonight because when I went down there, I was really struggling, and you can't play these boys, and you know, with any like sort of disbelief, you know, you got to go in there, play well, and obviously J Sports will let me do that.
Well, your confidence was clearly there to see tonight, and we cannot wait to see you in a few weeks' time.
No, me too. Thanks very much.
Well, that is Dave McNamara, and that leaves us with still a mouth-watering lineup to come. It's a fantastic lineup, isn't it, Simon? You know, you look at these last couple of weeks, and there's still so much to play for.
Yeah, no, there really is. We've got some big players to come. Probably the 2 biggest names in the draw for the whole competition, Chris Melling and Mick Hill in groups 7 and 8. We'll be seeing Chris Melling next week. He takes on Heaton Patel, Mike King and Gio Edgar, a young lad from Scotland with a very big following and a big future in the game. But that final week, Group 8, which we're calling Group of Death, and it really is Dylan Leary, Mick Hill, Shane Thompson, Declan Brennan. That is a very tough group, headlined, of course, by the 6 times world champion in Mick Hill. Yeah,
if we mentioned it a little bit earlier, it's almost crazy to think that after a game or 2 of that group, the 6-time world champion might not be the favourite to win it. That is how stacked that final group is, and we've already got such a good lineup for the quarterfinals. Whichever players we end up taking out those final 2 groups, it's set to be an incredible next month or so.
Yeah, no, it really is. The tournament is really building. We've seen some brilliant performances in the first 6 weeks. We've seen some brilliant drama and some brilliant shocks. But the players that have actually come through the groups, you know, it really is shaping up to be an incredible quarterfinal. And once we get through, we're calling Group 8 the Group of Death. But once we come through that and we get to the quarterfinals, how do we pick winners from the quarterfinals? I just don't know.
Yeah, it is an absolute coin toss once we get to that stage, and we cannot wait to get there. We've got still so much to come over the next month or so. We hope you've enjoyed tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure bringing it to you here on Free Sports once again. We'll be back next week, and we can't wait for that at a new time of 6:30. That will follow through for the rest of the competition as well. So don't forget, turn up at 6:30 and we'll entertain you all night long, just as we have tonight, hopefully, as well. Congratulations, Dave McNamara. We'll see him soon, as we will you, next week, 6:30. See you then.
This programme is brought to you by Vinny.co.uk.